Hi, I'm talking about reflection assignment 4, talking about long-term memory. Video 1 was how do you make memories? Uh, the guy of the hour was Henry Molaison, also known as HM. 1953, he had a surgery to remove parts of his brain. Doctors, not knowing what parts of the brain were super important, took out those super important parts of the brain, like the hippocampus and the amygdala and his entorhinal cortex. He didn't take out all of them, like all whole pieces of these important places in the brain, but he took out a good chunk, and or they took out a good chunk, and him, him could no longer form new memories. And they call this anterograde amnesia. They got retrograde amnesia, which is where you can't remember things prior to your surgery. But he can. HM can remember his past. He can't remember he can't form new memories. And these all are tied with your long term memory, which can be divided into two different things, which is explicit and implicit. Explicit is also known as declarative, which I kind of am unfamiliar with because I use it explicit rather than declarative, but that's another way of saying it. And with implicit, there's non declarative. So the one that HM no longer has is his explicit. And explicit can be further divided into two different pieces, like your semantic and your episodic. And short reference, episodic is those memories that you have special attachment to, like your birthday parties, those are really special. And then your semantic memories are like things that you just know are true. Like you don't perhaps remember how you know, but you know, like that the sky is blue. You know that a door can sometimes not open when you push it, so you have to pull it. Like these are things that you know, um, ideas and facts, things like that. And because HM could only like remember his past, and because he can't really remember, like he can't form explicit memories, he can form implicit. So implicit is your memories of habit. Had a brain fart, but implicit memory is like just your automatic processing. Like you do these unconsciously. Here are a few examples: are priming, procedural memory, conditioning. Um, you kind of use priming as like a preparation tool. Like priming allows for you to have an idea of what to expect um, from your previous experiences. And conditioning, you are making memory connections in a way, like associations among different stimuli. And your procedural memory is your how to. Um, I'm remembering a website, regardless, not important. How to's. How to tie your shoes, and riding a bike. You have steps, and that's where your procedural memory helps with. Yeah. So learning about this guy, this HM, Henry Molaison, allows me to really apply the terms and these ideas to a real life experience, a real life person who encountered these different memories. And he was really vital to brain research. So, because prior to this, they didn't have fMRIs. So they didn't really know how to like really look at the brain like that. But now they do. Um, and they have slivers of HM's brain. So they can look at the pieces that are taken out. And it's pretty extraordinary. Um, for me, how this can interact with my everyday life, I have my hippocampus and amygdala and my entorhinal cortex all intact, thankfully. And I can utilize these parts of my brain to engage with my loved ones and with new people and have these new experiences that help me to continue growth and to learn and have memories that I can take with me to future opportunities, future events, so that I can continue to learn. That is the ultimate goal. So that is the video one. Video two dives into unconscious learning. What happens in our brains when we learn without being aware of it? I don't know, but now I do know. I didn't know before. Now I do. This is a weird thing that you're not even really like understanding until after you understand it. And let me dive in a little bit. You can learn from like your instincts from like as a human, your animal brain. I thought as I kept watching this video over and over, um, you are thinking bad or thinking good in terms of your feelings. I felt like you're using your gut instinct, like your gut feelings, having a hunch over if something is good for you, or if it's bad, or if it's like something's coming. That's the kind of feeling I gathered because this experiment consisted of a deck of cards, some money, two people, one volunteer, then the other person happened to be the experimenter. And so with the values of the cards, as the volunteer would flip the card, there would be a certain percentage of money, a certain amount rather of money, and sometimes the card would indicate that that volunteer would pay that instead of receiving that. And so, from using monitoring electrical conductance between like the volunteer's fingertips, they being the doctors and the researchers were able to make out when the volunteer was feeling anxious and if there were any impulses that they could see before the volunteer made a decision, made moves. And so what they found was the volunteer, before like taking a risky move with like a higher amount of money, like a higher card, learned that if they were to do that, there's a possibility that they might have to pay a large sum of money rather than receiving that. And that gave them anxiety, which the researchers could see because of the electrical conductance little monitor. So I thought that was really cool. You know, I can also, relate because, thinking back when I play games and like, for example, I played Uno and, anxiety, nerves are high. I want to win. Um, I don't want anybody to see my card. And, I now all of a sudden am on edge because I now have one card. I have to say Uno. Oh, wait, someone else beat me to it. Dang. I now have to draw more cards. There's a rush there, because of risk. And that's what they showed in the video. And they also talked about this term called the somatic marker, which is like the body feeling or detecting an association of something, like I said, being bad or being good. Um, it's like the natural way of learning, and you're not really aware of it. Your body is just learning on its own, which is so cool. Like, you just, you can't describe it before It's just you learn it and then you realize afterwards. So, your body's kind of helping you adjust and helping you adapt to the environment, to a situation. And through memory connections, piecing together different ideas and stimuli, and then working with that, um, it's like you're not really alone. Your body is there to help you in the situations. And it was also, I caught incidental learning, like that was showcased here because, you're not really aware, you're not trying to learn. Um, it's like not intentional learning. It's just unconscious. You're not aware and you're learning. So, um, I guess whenever you are a child, right? I'm thinking of myself and any other child, really. When you're a child and you're learning from when things are bad and things are good, you can be told by your parent not to do something, or you can get injured by like putting your hand in some fire over a candle, and now you know, oh, that's not good. You just learned something and you didn't know about it before, and you don't know what happened, but you know that's not good. I just got hurt. That's not good. You just learned. So I suppose in a certain way, you could say, like, if you're talking about me, right? I rather can use my gut instincts and rely on them if I don't quite understand what it is I'm encountering, but like, something inside is like amiss and I can feel that something is off. Like the vibes are off, like the atmosphere, people's attitudes, like you're learning something, reading a room even could be applied here. Um, if I were to think about this in my day to day life, um, if a family member, if I'm like having a family meeting and things like this, and walk into a room and like everybody is just solemn, like, and I'm like, I should maybe not be super happy right now. Something just happened and I don't know what happened, but I'm going to learn very soon. So, sensing things can be applied to me. Video three. We talked about implicit bias, thought processes that happen without you knowing it. First thing I thought of was like schemas, because schemas help you from like thinking too much, like because you kind of already have an idea of what's supposed to happen, like the normal things that usually occur. The schemas kind of fill in the blanks for that. But with this implicit bias that comes from your ordinary mental functioning, I was like, well, I think a lot of memory errors could come out of this. Because, like within a culture, if you're exposed to different media's news, conversations, your education system, you're you're learning these biases unintentionally and sometimes maybe intentionally. But something that they use as an example was like, well, peanut butter is goes with jelly. Peanut butter and jelly. That's something that Western culture knows. But like in some cultures, you might also know that black men are associated with violence, which I thought was really, really interesting and can, make sense to why so many politicians were bringing up implicit bias during elections. But also, uh, what is it? With the memory errors, I was like, you could also have false recall and recognition because of like this black men equals violence thing I saw. I was just like, well, I know that police officers, like for example, were saying that they saw a gun on the black man that they would shoot and murder, but they realized after that there was not a gun. So, what they remember was, seeing a weapon, but they didn't see the weapon. And, you know, it was made up, conjured from their mind. That's something that I thought about. And with the video also pointing out blind spot bias, which is where people can see bias in other people that they, are talking to or are observing, but they can't really observe it within themselves. Like they don't notice that they too have bias. And so calling someone out on their bias but can't call themselves out on their own. That's something I think a lot of people encounter on a daily basis. Just because you know talking about flaws within our own character can be a little uncomfortable because we don't want to see ourselves in that negative light, and it's easy to just let ourselves scoot under the carpet and not hold ourselves accountable. So that may be also what we see in culture now, from people just not letting themselves be held accountable. For me, I think that it's really important to assess me before I assess other people. It's important that I can express what I have going on for my biases, because everybody has a bias opinion over something, and it affects us regardless of if we see it or not, and it affects other people. So calling ourselves to the opportunity to showcase all our biases, work on our biases, because it's not fair to, wrongly discriminate anybody for any reason, their gender, their sexual orientation, their their opinions and thoughts and identities, just anything really. We should be aware of them and try to counter them for fair assessments. Okay, video 4. I know that I'm over 15 minutes, but this is, I've made notes. Okay, this is about how memories form and how we lose them. They say that we lose them because of age, we lose them because of chronic stress. By they, I mean the researchers and the video maker. They say that we lose it because of depression. They say we lose it because of isolation, which is associated with depression. To counteract this, you can stay socially active, which is like engaging with people, having those very important interactions, because it gets the brain going and works it out. Alongside just learning new things, like for example, learning a new language. Um, it's making your brain use itself to continue functioning, and also making it to where decay is most likely avoidable in some cases. They talk about how memories form, and so an experience is converted into electrical energy, from like a pulse of neurons flowing from neuron to neuron. And I think that is acquisition, like the formation in your short term memory of things, like as you consume data and information, it's being formed. And then it lands into your short term memory, like I said. And then from there, it's transferred into your long term memory. And your long term memory is in areas like your hippocampus, super important for memory, retaining your memory and things like this. And then it flows to other places where storage regions are. And neurons talk to other neurons through synapses. That's that connection little point. Neuron synapse. you know if neurons are talking to each other like repeatedly, then you've got this thing called long-term potentiation, which I've never heard of prior to this video. It's the function of memories being stored in long term, and you can best learn and not forget anything, or forget most things, if you are using um, you're paying attention, rather, like you think this information is meaningful, and you're giving it some really deep thought and engagement, which you could also say is deep processing. You're using those techniques of really engaging with material to leave it in your long-term storage unit and come back to it and retrieve it a little quicker. And you can also that's actually what I was about to talk about. Something that the video kind of didn't talk too much about, which I thought was interesting, was emotion. Emotion seems to dictate a lot of things, like mood congruency, being involved in our processes, like short term memory. It affects everything, I think. And for this video, not to really talk about it was interesting. Because you use consolidation, which is like kind of cementing memories into your storage from having an emotional attachment to these memories. Um, and if they call these memory thieves, if you're not, staying active, you can weaken your synapses, which can affect how you can access your memories effectively. And then also your brain is shrinking because of also with age. The hippocampus loses like 5% of the neurons every decade, which I did not know. So by the time you're 80, you've lost like 20%. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And I, I would hope that through keeping the effort of like going to classes, like learning, being in school, um, forcing yourself to participate in events that are happening in your life can help with maintaining some level of balance within your brain and making sure that it's a healthy flow of function. And it's easy to uh, stay not, I don't want to say lazy, but it's, you can definitely not take advantage of your youth like right now, and later on in life find out that your body's deteriorating and it's like, wow, what happened? I was just able to do what I can't do now a minute ago. So I think that for people who are still able to use all of the functionings in their body, that they take advantage of this. And like for me, I still can walk and I can still learn with my brain, and I intend to still do this when I'm older and, in my adult age, more adult age. I'm an adult now, but you get the idea. I want to, push myself to expand what I know and keep my elasticity in my brain, because it's important to not stay settled. That's how I would apply it to my life, to keep moving and encourage my family and my friends and people that I get to know in the future to keep moving and stay active and, participate in things, invite other people to come with me and do things so that we can engage ourselves and be healthy and happy. That's my take. And yeah, thank you.